Committee for Thursday, February 4, 2021, 4 o'clock p.m. We'll ask Robbie, if you would, please, to call the roll.
Smallridge,
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
calling roll, Commissioner Smallridge.
Here.
Commissioner Creasy,
Present.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Waddell,
Present.
Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Commissioner Bow.
Here. And if we would, Commissioners, we'll ask Dr. Parrott, our school director, to lead us in a prayer, and then Commissioner White in the Pledge to Allegiance.
Pray. Father God, we come to you today, Lord, and we thank you for the blessings of life, Lord, for the care you give for us each and every day, Lord. You look out for us so much, Lord. You know what we need before we even know what we need, Lord, and you know what we don't need, Lord. We pray today that we would, Lord, this county and our school system and our commissioners, Lord, we would always seek your guidance. We would always follow, Lord, your rules, not our rules, because you are a perfect Savior. Lord, we thank you for what you've done on the cross. We thank you for saving us. And most of all, Lord, we thank you for loving us the way we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott, Commissioner White. And we'll turn it over to Robbie for our cash and fund balance report.
Okay. For the general fund, cash and fund balance at the end of January 2021, restricted funds were at $991,991. Committed funds, $2,065,498. Assigned funds are at $2,019,148, and unassigned fund balance is $6,013,193 for total fund balance of $11,089,830. Cash was $12,482,770, which is up $1,003,000 from last year at this time. The school's cash are $13,793,605 committed, and their total fund balance is $9.5 million. So not bad numbers for cash and fund balance. Any questions? For our sales tax, I reported out on this last commission meeting because we got them in that day, but no, December was actually the first month we've had in 2 years that we dropped 19% from last December, sorry. We were at 2.8 million. Last December, we were at 3.5 for the total county. But for Anderson County, we also were lower. But it was also, even though we were lower, it was still our fourth highest month of the year. So that kind of tells you something about sales tax. We actually dropped, but it was from last year. Last December was the first time we started seeing the internet sales tax for the first time. So December and January were extremely high for the county. And then it's kind of leveled off in the $400 to $1,000 range or so. So 443,904 is a pretty good number for December, I think, still. Yes, and 2020 for Anderson County was up 56% for the county alone, and for the total county was up 12%. So still really good numbers for the sales tax.
Robbie, I also let the minutes reflect that Commissioner Fritz has joined us. Good afternoon, Chuck. Any questions for Robbie on the cash and fund balance report? If not, moving right along with the items on the agenda.
Okay, on the consent agenda, we have items 1 through 7, all transfers, seeking approval as a group, or we can take them individually, or I can answer any questions that anyone might have.
For approval as a group?
Have a motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve as a group. We have a second from Commissioner Denenberg. Is that right, Catherine?
Correct, sir.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Smallridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Creasy,
Yes, Creasy votes yes.
thank you. Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Commissioner Val.
Aye.
Number 8 is an appropriation from the schools for
Move for approval.
$87,316.
Motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve, second by Commissioner White. Any discussions? Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Commissioner Val.
Aye.
All right. The next one is from the County Clerk's Office, number 9. It's for $4,000 to purchase 4 PC monitors, and they're increasing business tax processing fees and their data processing equipment.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Smallridge to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Waddell. Any discussion?
Question?
Hang on just a second, Chuck. Commissioner White, go ahead.
Well,
You just walked out the,
now I can answer that though, because actually Brian tried to, before Jeff did as he did the budget, Brian tried to buy these out of his funds earlier because sometimes Brian will buy it out of the IT budget and then the other departments reimburse him, but he didn't have the money in his code to buy it. So he has approved these though.
Commissioner Fritz.
Well, you're talking to answer my question because my question was, since there was no comment on here about it, had this gone through Brian in the IT department?
It has.
All right.
And I will get that put on there from now on. That should have been on there this time, actually.
Any further discussion?
Yes. Actually, any IT purchases through the county now, we have Brian sign up on the PO. And usually the budget amendment, maybe sometimes we miss the budget amendment, but for them to even get a budget amendment in the works to do a requisition, I mean, in to do a requisition, they've already discussed it with him, but I'll start having him approve all all budget amendments also.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Commissioner Val.
Aye. Motion carries.
The next one is from Finance. It's a grant that Randy Walters worked up. It's the CDBG Waterline Project for $523,207 and increasing several other codes for this project.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Fritz moves for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion?
Just, this requires a matching amount. Is that correct?
It is correct. By the Anderson County Water Authority.
Oh, not by the county itself. Is that right?
That's
Okay.
correct. And we confirmed that today, right, Randy? With the mayor earlier? Yes.
Thanks.
Any further discussion?
It's a reimbursement grant, so we have to. The match.
Is it possible we'll have to pay it and then they'll reimburse us? Yeah, it's possible. But it will not come from our general fund or?
No, depending on the timing, we may have to put an amendment on this so that we can get it out of the general fund earlier.
And then it'll be put back.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this is Creasy.
Hang on just a second, Jerry, if you would, please. Commissioner White's
Yes.
got a question here.
Yes.
That's all right. Go ahead, Jerry.
Just real quickly, that is to extend water line.
they don't have the water lines there. They are all running off well water, all these locations. So it's gonna extend the line on out like, Hines Creek to Judson Road and all that, just supply them with the opportunity to have county water.
Wait a minute, you said it's going to extend it, you say it's going to put new ones in.
Well, there is none there. So they're gonna extend from wherever they stop, they're gonna, there'll be new ones or it'll be extended, whichever one.
Right.
It can be both.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Creasy, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, there was some earlier conversation that we weren't privileged to that apparently didn't have the mics on, but maybe they do now because I heard the conversation that was just going on. But I was just wanting to alert you that maybe someone didn't have their mics on earlier.
All right, sir. Okay. All right. We'll try to do better on that. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? I'll just have my 2 cents on this. I can remember growing up in the Laurel Grove community, and it was a very good day when we got what my mama called city water brought up there to the Laurel Grove community. So I'm very pleased to vote yes on this. Any further discussion? If not, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Aldridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, Chairman Bow.
Aye, motion carries.
All right. Appropriations 11 through 15 are from the Sheriff's Department, seeking approval as a group, or we can take them individually, or I can answer any questions. Most of these are from donations, or one's a donation and most are insurance recovery.
Move for approval as a
We've already
group.
received the money.
Commissioner Fritz moves for approval as a group. Do we have a second by Commissioner White? Any discussion?
I have a question.
Commissioner Denenberg, go ahead.
It's really probably very easily answered by Mr. Chairman. What is Red Rock?
I think that's on that one
On number 11,
that you talked about.
the donation.
Oh, Commissioner Denenberg, I think Director Mays is on the line, but I believe it's a donation that we received.
Yes, it's a donation. I'm just asking who Red Rock is. I want to make sure it's not a nefarious group.
Okay, Director Mays, are you available to answer that, sir?
Yeah, so it is a private individual who is a supporter of law enforcement. That's the name of his business that he operates, and that's who he wrote the check. But he has in years past donated to several law enforcement agencies, and we have been identified as one that he would really like to help. He's hoping that this will become an annual donation that he wants specifically set aside for training. But no, we've met this gentleman. He would like to stay anonymous because of just the donation is made, but that is his company name. It's not a group or anything like that we would that would be not in line with what we would want here. But
Well, that's then does beg a question for me as to, in a way, I could possibly understand him wanting anonymity, but I personally would like to know who it is.
well, I'm happy to, let me get his name real quick. It's
Well,
been,
and if it's something that you feel that needs to be,
I don't mind a
I
bit.
don't know how we are allowed to accept monies from unidentified individuals. I mean, that's just a question I have.
Yeah, so I don't think it's his intent to hide who he is. I mean, because I think if you look up his business name across the state, you're probably going to find his name and probably a lot more than that.
Okay, then I can do that, Tyler.
But no, let me grab it real quick, or I can text it to you if I don't want to stall the meeting for looking for it.
Exactly. Don't worry about it. If he's online, I'll look him up.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I had a question on item 14. The narrative says after extensive audit, we found 11,000 some dollars. I'm not clear on that. Was that money we didn't know about, or?
Yeah, so it's really, Cali Bum, it dates prior to our arrival and Sheriff Barker's arrival. When we came in office, Doug, or the comptroller, not the comptroller, but our auditor here, said that, here are some monies that we have available, but we need to identify what this goes to. So we had two individuals that worked here that went through a voluminous file full of receipts and documents to try to match money, whatever the amounts were, to the documents and to the things that we did seize throughout the years. And so this is the amount that was finalized. This is something that we've already talked to Mr. Sandage about. He felt this was the appropriate amount. And so we're just now finally getting that into our drug fund. It's just money that's just been sitting there because we really didn't have the right way to identify it and to feel comfortable writing a check to the drug fund.
So the funds were there, but we didn't really know the funds were there. Is that what we're saying?
Well, we knew that there was money there, but what we were trying to do was match the deposits and the documentation that we had, that we received when we came in. We had to just, put the puzzle together, per se. And so Sergeant Josh Sitzman and one of our crime analysis, and then we had someone who was on light duty that just really dug in and started putting the pieces together in conjunction with the state comptroller's office to arrive at what this is, that we were able to identify correctly $11,109.75 to documents that we had in our possession. So it was more of, we had the money there, but when we got here, it was like, we really don't know what this money's for. So.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy.
Tracy votes aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Chairman Bow.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay.
Mr.
Next
Chairman, if
for-
I could interject one more time.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I apologize. I had spoke to Commissioner Denenberg prior to the meeting, and she asked a really great question that I just wanted to share with everyone about the auction that we held on seized firearms. It was a really good question that I had too when we first did it, was about using GovDeals versus using PAL auction. So we have to sell these items, of course, by public auction as required by law. And then I dug a little further, Commissioner Denenberg. Another reason that we use PAL auction versus GovDeals is you have to have a federal firearms license to sell these items. PAL auction has that. So if we would have done it with GovDeals, we would have had to use what I would, for just lack of a better word, a middleman, like a pawn shop here locally. And so PAL auction was basically a turnkey job. That's why they've used them in the past. And also PAL auction waives the fee for the seller versus that GovDeals would charge us 7.5% of whatever we sold.
Thank you for that update, and those are two very good reasons.
Thank you, Director Mays. Go ahead, Robbie.
16 through 20 are from the mayor, seeking approval as a group, or we can take them individually, or I can answer any questions.
Move for approval as a group.
Chuck Fritz moves to approve as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none. Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye, Creasy votes aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes,
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Commissioner Val.
Aye, motion passed.
All right, the next two are from EMA, from Steve Payne. They are both insurance, one's insurance recovery, money we've already received, and disaster relief recovery, which we've already received, the $15,392.22.
Move for approval as a group.
Commissioner Fritz moves for approval as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none. Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Creasy votes aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
yes,
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, Chairman Val.
Aye, motion carries.
All right, the next two are from the Highway Department, Gary Long. One is to increase the overtime pay, $10,000 from night watchman salaries, and the other is from his restricted for highway, $60,000, increasing maintenance and repairs and equipment and repairs.
Move for approval as a group.
Number 23
and 24.
and 24. And we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fritz to approve as a group. Did we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Any discussion? Hearing none. Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Creasy votes aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Denenberg says yes, but just asking that they sign off on who it's from next time.
okay. Oh, yeah. Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, Chairman Val.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, the last one is from the Law Director, Jay Yeager, for County Attorney Legal Services, $19,986.13 from unassigned fund balance.
Move for approval.
White moves to approve. Commissioner Smallridge seconds. Any discussion?
You betcha.
Go ahead, Commissioner Denenberg.
You know, if anyone took the time to go over the charges that we're receiving for what we're being told was a huge misdirection of service from our attorneys for what we received, I really choked, especially when I kind of took a calculator and I added up the amount of monies that we're being charged for just the showing up for the one commission meeting, which is just right around $3,000 of this bill. And I'm sorry, but I really, really have a problem with this one. I know we've got to pay it, but I am just voicing my disdain for what we're being charged. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Waddell, go ahead.
I agree. It appears that we're paying for Mr. Knight to represent us, but we're getting represented by his colleagues in the office. Apparently wasn't up to the task. they didn't show up for the county commission meeting. They just videoed in. I don't know why they would charge so much to explain, why they did such a poor job. But I'll tell you, I know we got to pay it, but I'm not ready to pay it right now, and I'm going to vote no. And I'd like to have Jay sit down with them and explain how we're not happy with their service and they're not providing the service that this money is accounting for. So I know we'll end up paying it, but I think we should have some more talks about it before we pay it right now. Maybe they can give us a discounted price since they gave us a discounted representation. Thank you.
May I just add one word to what Commissioner Waddell just spoke about, and I think it's justify.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Now, justify what we're being charged for what we received. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Commissioner White?
I made a motion to approve this. I don't like the bill. I think there's some charges in here that actually shouldn't be, but I don't think we have a choice. A lawyer charges you pretty well what he wants to charge you. If he's sitting on the john, if he's talking to you on the phone, he charges you according to his time. When you call Mayor Frank and talk for 10 minutes and charge $100, I don't understand all these charges, but I don't think we have any choice. Maybe we can talk with Jay Yeager and maybe we can discuss our frustrations with this bill. But I don't think delaying it would give us any kind of credibility or discounts or anything like that. So I'm going to vote to approve it and hope the commission will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyone else? I'll just say that I text Jay to ask him if he was tuned in. He's unable to, but his answers were, we owe them the money. Told them to file the brief on the Rule 59. I don't see any way around it. So going with Commissioner White's opinion, and I understand the frustration of the committee members. I'm frustrated too after looking over it. I'm not happy about it at all, at all. I echo Commissioner Dannenberg and Commissioner Waddell's sentiments. I agree with them, but unfortunately, as much as it pains me, I'm going to have to vote yes for it as well. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Dennenberg,
Yes, with reservation.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Waddell,
No.
Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Chairman Bell.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Go ahead. Moving into Section A of our budget agenda, it's budget guidelines, calendar and forms. We really need to kind of put budget off a month. Last year, I brought it to you all in January, but we really weren't ready to talk about it. And so I waited till February this year. But so now our backs are against the wall and we really kind of need to approve this stuff. We can start with the guidelines. I put the guidelines that we did 2 years ago. I emailed you all a copy of the guidelines we did last year where we asked for one half of 1% cut if possible from each department. Basically, the guidelines are pretty straightforward. Revenue should be forecasted based on actual trends. Expenses should be estimated based on actual expenditures and adjusted for anticipated changes. Proposed budgets that include any increase in staffing and compensation must include a justification and as well as we make them come before us and present their case in the budget. What do we call it? I forgot what we call those things, the budget hearing, sorry. Health insurance costs, we do that in the finance department and we ask for a 5-year capital outlay for equipment that should not be budgeted in operational department budgets. We could put that in the budget this year. we'll see once we're obviously going to increase sales tax, which we didn't get to do last year. That's going to give us some more flexibility in the budget, but, I mean, I'm interested in your all's opinion on the guidelines.
I believe I saw in there, something about if we wanted them to bring forth the raises that we had discussed.
Email, that's something,
I would, because that's what we told them, is to bring forth their budget with the raises included. That's what we said. So I would like for us to do that. I'd like for us to stand behind our word and have the department submit their budgets with the raises that were included last year.
so that would be a $1,000 raise for
That's
every.
correct.
Okay. Instead-
That's just me. You guys.
Any further discussion on this? I
I'd
guess we need.
like to comment if I could.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand the recommendation. One concern I have is if those raises are in the budget, and we had said we would kind of wait till the end of the year to see the end of the fiscal year, to see what our revenue looked like. If it turned out we're not able to give those raises I guess I'm thinking of for the future, we said we would wait till the end of the year to see if that would be ongoing or not. Maybe his recommendation doesn't relate to that. Can you clarify that for me?
Commissioner Waddell.
I mean, I don't know. We told everybody we would look at it this year. There's no other way to look at it other than put it in there and us look at it and get the totals. But, this commission has been donating and spending money ever since we gave raises out. And, I think it would be disastrous for us not to include them. Our employees have sat back and watched this commission spend and spend and spend and donate to nonprofits like we said we wasn't going to do. So if we have the money to do that, we have the money to give our employees raises.
Yeah. I'm just afraid if it turned out we could not do that, that they would be very disappointed. Just a concern that I have, and I would hate to see that. So
They're going to be very disappointed if we don't include it like we said we were going to. That's what we said, for the department heads to bring their budget back with those raises included, and we would look at them. I guess if they bring the budget back and it's not included, if it's included in there and they bring it back and we don't have the money, then this commission's going to have to justify why we spent all the money all year long and didn't put back any for their raises. But it can be taken out before we approve the budget. It can go back, but it needs to be submitted with them in there in order for us to see the whole picture of what we're looking at, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Rob.
And me and the mayor have talked about this a little bit today as far as the budget guidelines, and each department could submit two budgets, one with the raises and one without. And we could I could show the committee, both sides of it. It's a possibility too.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Fritz, go ahead, sir.
I'll have to stand there with Commissioner Smallridge that in my standing of the budget, we did not ask that the budgets be brought before us with any raises put in. What the commission passed was that we would evaluate at the end of the fiscal year the budget situation and look at would be possible to include this at that time. We did not say to automatically go ahead and put the raises in. We said that at that time we would evaluate if that would be feasible to where we could do that. At no time did we say that they would be put in and then taken out. So I think if you go back and look at the tapes and all that stuff, you will see that we said we would evaluate and consider it at that particular time.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Any other discussion on it? I guess,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, Commissioner Creasy, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'd like the, Robbie, the finance director, to keep us informed of what the inflation rate is for this past year as we go into these discussions. So we'll know where we are as far as our employees getting behind or getting ahead or and so forth. And that will help us justify any raises that we come up with.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Good,
Anyone else?
I'd like to amend the motion if that's appropriate.
Actually, I don't think we have a motion on the floor right now, Commissioner Smallridge, so go ahead with what you got, sir.
Oh, we didn't have a second? Or I thought a motion was made.
Denver had a suggestion, but I don't think he put it in the form of a motion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I like the idea of having, if it's not too much paperwork, is to have a budget both way, as Robbie just suggested. We could have the money included in one part, and with the understanding that it's not definite at this point, we would have to wait towards the end of the year, but at least we'd know what we're looking at financially in terms of additional money. So you'd have essentially two budgets, one with the raise and one without.
Yes, that's fine. I would be glad to do that. And we have a lot of departments. EMS turns in 3 or 4 budgets every year, as you well know. So we have some departments that already do stuff like that, but it's not a problem for me to do.
I'd
take a
like
budget
to
and
add a
include
motion
raises.
then.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Smallridge to approve the budget guidelines with the addition of 2 budgets being submitted by the department heads. One will include pay raises for employees, one will not. And the pay raise would be, was $1,000 per employee. Now, there were some other stipulations, if I remember right, Robbie. Was years of service involved, part-time? It wouldn't apply. Okay.
Speak into the microphone, please.
I'm sorry. I was leaning back in the chair.
There was something else in there for part-time employees. I don't know if that needs to be included. I don't know.
50 for part-time, 500 for less than 6 months, and $1,000 for a year or more.
Commissioner Smallridge, did you hear all that?
Yes, I can't remember the part about the part-time myself.
It's $250.
But is that okay with you as far as being your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Robbie, do you want the same motion to also include the calendar approval and the forms approval, or do you want those in separate motions?
Let's do them separately.
Okay, all right. So the motion on the floor is to approve the 21-22 budget guidelines with the addition of department heads submitting their budgets, one with pay raises, one without. And that was made by Commissioner Smallridge. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jameson. Are there any discussion? Hearing none. Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White,
Aye.
and Commissioner Val.
Aye, motion carries.
All right.
Now, Commissioners, we need a motion to approve the calendar.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Robbie, I'm
As
sorry.
far as the calendar goes, I've only added one extra meeting. Everything I've had fall on a budget meeting night, except for one on March 18th, which is when we're going to hold, which is when I've scheduled to hold the budget hearings. As long as you all are okay with that. And I put down 4 o'clock, but I was telling Chairman Val today, if we could do 3, possibly, that might be a lot better situation for us, because if we have a lot of hearings, we could be here quite a while, which I don't expect us to have a lot of hearings, but you never know. So it's up to you all. 4 o'clock's fine with me, but 3 might work. If 3 is a possibility, then okay, sure. I'll try to keep it, you know.
So do we have a motion for that?
So I just need a motion to approve the calendar.
Motion to approve the calendar.
So moved.
Commissioner Waddell makes motion to approve. Commissioner Denenberg seconds to approve the 21-22 fiscal year budget calendar. Any discussion?
Okay.
Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll.
Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, Chairman Bell.
Aye.
Okay, and as far
motion
as the forms go, they're all the same forms, the tax infringement benefits calculation, explanation of of codes. We did add one new form this year, and it's for grants. Randy is seeking an active grant inventory listing as of February 15th, 2020. I just need a motion to approve all these forms.
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Smallridge. Was that you, Bob, that made the motion to approve? Motion by
Yeah.
Commissioner Smallridge to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fritz. Any discussion? Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Chairman Bell.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay. We have one budget amendment under new business.
Under new business. Go ahead, Robbie.
It's from Dr. Parrott and Julie Mitten in the business office, of $600,000 for committed for capital projects to $600,000 for capital outlay building improvements. Appropriate funds for the cost to install artificial turf on the football field used by Clinton High School and Clinton Middle School. Total cost is to be shared between Anderson County Schools and the City of Clinton. Anderson County Schools will lease from the City of Clinton at no cost the baseball and football fields for the 25 years, resulting in a savings of $115,000 per year.
Commissioner White makes a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion? Mayor Frank, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just, I wanted to talk about the budget guidelines or maybe a couple other things when you finish this, if that's okay.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? If not, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner
Mr. Chairman,
Smallridge.
I'm sorry,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy, go ahead, sir.
was this on our agenda?
This was added under new business, sir. Did you get it?
I sent an email out yesterday, late yesterday, when Julie sent it to me, asking if it fit under new business.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Further discussion? Hearing none, Robbie, call the roll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg, Commissioner
Yes.
Fritz. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White, and Chairman Bell.
Aye, motion carries. Go ahead, Mayor Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. I'm just throwing a couple of ideas out there for the annual budget. And one of those ideas is perhaps, as you know, you all have been doing a really good job of getting the county's capital needs, the cars caught up, the ambulances, a lot of the equipment. But generally what we're doing each year is, if you'll recall back when Natalie was here and the debt service had built up, you took 10 pennies that one year and allocated those to a lot of the capital needs. And then you've used some of the rollover funds, and I would anticipate you doing that to address some of those capital needs as well. But perhaps there is an opportunity, depending on what the revenues look like this year. I do know ESG has impacted some savings already, but I know a little bit of that will go to debt service. But perhaps you might just turn Robbie loose, or Robbie and Randy loose, on perhaps coming up with a way to fund the capital projects a little bit more. So I think we're putting in about, a little over a half a penny, maybe 0.6 of a penny that's going into the capital projects as part of your annual budget. And so this year, for instance, 113,000 went into that particular code for capital outlay. And maybe you just, set a target of, hey, see if you can come up with 300,000 or 350,000 and just, gradually build upon that over time. And that way, every year when the departments come with their capital project needs, you're not having to wrestle with where do you get it. That's just a suggestion. And maybe as you build this budget, they might be able to come back with 2 or 3 options for you. And then this is just an idea as well. You've seen the increases in the sales tax that we've had. Hopefully that holds, as Robbie told you at the beginning of the meeting this last month, from where we have been. I mean, we're still up over the past, but where we have been, we went down a little bit. But one of the things, if you go back and some of the commissioners will remember, in 2006, Anderson County approved an increase in the local option sales tax. And at that time, I can't find the resolution to back it up. Leanne and I have looked in the minutes. The trustee doesn't have it, and Robbie doesn't have it. But at that time, part of, as you know, there's law that requires where that is split, and the schools get a portion of that, and then the county gets the remainder. So in some counties, like one of my mayors in their county, all of the remaining portion goes to tourism, as an example. Some, it all goes just directly into the general fund, and the general fund here in Anderson County does get some, but some of it also goes to the highway department. And so as we're experiencing, I want to preface this before I even start into my idea. I'm not trying to take money from the highway department. So they have, for like a 9-year period, they budgeted $315,000 and pretty much got that. They might be down a touch one year or up. Well, with the increase in sales tax, you've seen in 2017 a plus up of 125,000. In 2018, you saw a $204,000 increase over, what was anticipated. In 2019, that budgeted amount was increased and then to 439, and then they ended up coming in at 872. So that was a $433,000 increase. In 20, they budgeted 500, and I think they've almost realized that already, and we're not at the end. But I think that's like 55,000 to reaching that mark, and we still have several more months. So the idea I'm throwing out here is not to take anything away, but maybe just set a cap or set some kind of percentage split where you shift some of those dollars to, major capital projects or other capital needs that you might have, or some other project that county commission wants to work on. And so that's I'm just opening that up as a topic for discussion. As that continues to grow, do you want to start looking at that for other needs that you might have, not taking anything away, if that makes sense? Because you do contribute property tax to them as well as the sales tax. It's just, is it time to maybe look at, is there another way to share too for other needs you might have? So that's just another idea. And then lastly, John Vickery has come to purchasing a couple of times on the vehicles. And as we have been able to dig ourselves out of a hole, so to speak, on the vehicle policies, it might be time to look at just getting fleet's input on recommendations as well, not to the extent of IT where it's a fleet service sign off, but where fleet service could also maybe help create a tool for you all as commissioners. So for instance, I'm just going to use this as an example. You may have a vehicle with 150,000 miles and you get a replacement request for it. And there are cases, and John in purchasing committee shared one, where this is a vehicle that definitely needed to go because they were already putting all kinds of maintenance into it. It just was one that wasn't, ever built right. And he wants to be able to give the backup that, yes, it needs to be replaced. And then others, it could just help you on that priority scale. So that's just something to consider. Those are just a couple of ideas that I wanted to throw out.
Mayor, anybody have any comments on Mayor's suggestions? All right, and I will say this.
Excellent ideas, excellent suggestions.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. I will say this as far as going, as far as the calendar and the capital and all that. One of the things that we started out doing when I got put on budget committee, and I think Commissioner Fritz would back me up on this, is the way that we would line it out is we would start with the budget from the previous year, and then we would build after, especially after we closed the books and knew how much money we had left over, gave us a better picture of where we could put money. And I think one of the things that we always wanted to try to do was put money aside for capital. So I like hearing that. And then, of course, as Commissioner Waddell has pointed out, obviously, I don't think any of us would object to pay raises to the employees. I think all of them are deserving of that. So please remember these as we go into budget season, commissioners. I like to say that football season is over. NASCAR is getting ready to start up. Basketball's going in full swing, so it must be budget season. So just please be prepared for some long meetings. Hopefully it won't be too bad, but we do need to be prepared for that and working with the department heads to try to supply their needs.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
just to follow up on some things that the mayor was saying, and we've talked about this before. One thing that makes our capital outlay always look so big every single year is the fact that we always here lately have been carrying our police cars and our ambulances on the capital outlay. Many years ago, when I was on budget, the police cars and the ambulances were factored in part of the operating budget. And it was not part of the capital outlay. And so that's something I think we need to eventually look at and try to work that back into the operating budgets of the different departments. So they know these are going to be can be counted on year after year after year, and we don't get back into the shape that we got into here over the past few years. And then we actually know what our true capital outlay needs are, and not filled up with police cars and ambulances year after year after year, and where the true needs are actually in the operating budget with the ambulances and the police cars. And that's something I think we really need to look at and try to work in over the next couple of years if possible.
Fritz.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Denenberg, go ahead.
I just want to commend Commissioner Fritz on what he just reiterated, and I fully support what he has said. And those suggestions by Mayor Frank, I think, are very reasonable and things that need to be looked at. Thank you, sir.
And thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I know we talk in the guidelines about justifying increases and expenditures and looking at staffing and compensation. I just think it's important that we, highlight those changes so that each department will give a clear explanation. I'm thinking back, and generally, I think we did a pretty good job in most cases, but in some other cases, it was kind of hard to tell what was going on. I'd like to see a real emphasis on a paragraph or a couple paragraphs explaining increases in any of the budgets. I think it would make our work a lot easier. The other thing I was, and again, going back, I guess, to guidelines, I would hope we could limit any changes once we have an approved budget. I hope we could eliminate most of the changes that require dipping into our fund balance. I know things are going to happen where we couldn't anticipate and people need additional revenue for a project or whatever. However, I think I've felt like there's been times in the past year or two where we seem to have things come up that could have been and should have been maybe anticipated as the budgets were being built. I think we get a much clearer picture when we do that. Those are just a couple of things I thought that kind of relate to our guidelines.
Commissioner Smallridge, anyone else on this item? If not, also under new business, I believe Commissioner Isbell is joining us virtually. I believe he has something he would like to bring to the Budget Committee's attention. Commissioner Isbell, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
As you know, now during this pandemic with social distancing, our volunteer fire departments are not able to get out and do their annual fundraisers and chili suppers, the boot drives, and things like that. And that is just like Medford. That's one of our biggest, other than what the county gives us, that's one of our biggest money donations that we get. So I'm sure that every rural fire department across the United States of America is faced with the same thing, not only in Anderson County. So the other night when we were talking about it, Doug was talking about it in the Charter Commission, I had texted Chuck Fleischman and asked him if he would consider adding that something in there for the rural volunteer fire departments because of, the pandemic, for some of this COVID relief money. If that's possible, if you've watched that close, we're sending money abroad and using it for everything else. But I think that our rural fire departments probably make up a whole lot more than even the metropolitan fire department. So what I would propose to do, and we'll need to get it done as quick as possible, if we could, some members of the Budget Committee would be willing to support a resolution to send to the state. And if the mayor would agree, I hadn't had the opportunity to talk to her about it yet, to try to reach out to our other elected leaders in Washington to see if they would consider, putting some money in there. I'm sure some type of stimulus package would probably be passed again, but at least maybe we could get something there for our volunteer fire departments. And if the Budget Committee would approve that, and then we could get the people from operations, and maybe Jay, and I talked to Chairman Anderson today, if he would speak to Jay, if he could have a resolution prepared, because I think, we'd have to really hurry and get this on board. And I reached out to Tim Burkett today as well. I hadn't got a reply back yet.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make that motion.
Commissioner Waddell makes a motion to pass a resolution on the full commission to request the law director draw a resolution requesting our U.S. Congressman Chuck Fleischman to request COVID funding support for our rural volunteer fire departments. Commissioner Isbell, is that right? Does that cover everything?
That's correct, but we also need to send that to Central Haggerty and Blackburn as well. Tim Burchett, anybody that we can really get it out to, but definitely the ones that represent Anderson County.
All right, Commissioner Waddell, is that good?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second on that motion? Second by Commissioner Jameson. Any discussion? Hearing none. Robbie, call the roll, please.
Hey, Commissioner Smallridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Creasy,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner White's absent, Commissioner Chairman Val.
Aye, and motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Budget Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Isbell.
Thank you, Commissioner Isabel. Good suggestion, good recommendation.
Well, I actually got the idea from Commissioner Fritz when he was speaking about it the other night.
Anything else under new business? Anything under old business? Hearing none.
Good meeting, Chairman.